So good evening, everyone, and welcome to the board meeting of Wednesday, September the 25th, 2024. We will start with the land acknowledgement of traditional territory, and that will be by Associate Director Stevens, please.
Simcoe County District School Board acknowledges that we are situated on the traditional land of the Anishinaabe. The Anishinaabe include the Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi nations, collectively known as the Three Fires Confederacy. We are dedicated to honoring Indigenous history and culture and committed to moving forward in the spirit of reconciliation and respect with all First Nation, Métis, and Inuit people.
Thank you. Please rise if you're able for the national anthem. The version of the national anthem is courtesy of Innisdale Secondary School this evening. Associate Director Stevens will now read our statement of respect.
The SCDSB is committed to creating a culture of belonging, engagement, and success for all through deliberate actions and an intentional focus in the area of diversity, equity, and inclusion. The SCDSB Board of Trustees will conduct meetings in an inclusive, respectful manner that upholds the principles of respect for human rights and allows all members, staff, and guests to fully participate regardless of race, religion, ethnicity, age, ability, and gender.
So thank you. We are at the roll call. I know Trustee Strawn will be joining us at 7 o'clock this evening, and joining us online are Trustee Harrigan, Trustee Wilson, and Trustee Foley. And with that, I'll ask Executive Assistant Henry to take the roll. The next is the approval of the agenda. Is there someone who would like to move the agenda for this evening's meeting? Trustee Grummett, thank you, and a seconder, and Trustee Connors. Is there any questions or comments with respect to the agenda? I don't see any. I'll call the question. All those in favor? And anyone opposed? And that carries. Are there any declaration of conflict of interest for this evening? Okay, none noted. We are on to the consent agenda. Is there anything that needs to be pulled from the consent agenda tonight? There's only 2 items there. Okay, seeing nothing, I will ask for a mover to approve the consent agenda. Thank you, Trustee Powell, seconded. Thank you, Trustee Talbot. It's moved and seconded. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? And that carries. Item 8 we dealt with in A7, so now I would entertain a motion to go into closed session. Trustee Connors, thank you, seconded. Trustee Wilson, please. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? And that's carried. Thank you. So we now will just take a few minutes to get into closed session. Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the September board meeting. We are back in open session. We are at item C on our public agenda. And just before we get to that, we do have some trustees joining us electronically tonight. So we have Trustee Armstrong, Trustee Wilson, Trustee Foley, and Trustee Harrigan with us. So we are at item C1, which is the report from student trustees. So I'm going to hand it over to student trustee Simmons for your very first report. Go ahead.
Good evening, and through the chair to the table, the Student Senate had their first meeting today and had a good turnout with representation from Georgian Bay, Maple Ridge, Bear Creek, and Bradford High School. Student trustee Ladd chaired the meeting, and student trustee Shaw took minutes. Students had the ability to speak to concerns regarding their schools and worries about a variety of topics. Some of these topics included the use of cell phones in schools, vandalism, vaping, and highly caffeinated energy drinks. The next Student Senate meeting will be held on the 23rd of October at 3 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that report. Are there any questions from trustees for our student trustees this evening? Vice Chair Rafik, please.
Thank you. And through the chair, I was just interested about your discussion with cell phones in schools. You know, we've got new recommendations and everything this year. Can you give us any details on that discussion, how that went?
Would you like to take that question? So please go ahead.
Thank you, and through the chair to the table, with the new cell phone rules, there's been a drastic drop in cell phone usage, as the students reported in the student senate meeting. There were discussions about the consequences of using cell phones during class time, and it was noted that all schools had different forms of progressive consequences.
So thank you very much for that clarification. Are there any further questions for our student trustees this evening? I don't see any, so I do have one question for you, though. When you reference the energy drink, is the concern that there's an increase in the amount of consumption that's taking place with energy drinks, or that students are relying on them, or is it something that they're hoping the student senate can work on? Who would like to answer that? Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. There was an increase, and we are looking forward to working on that during Student Senate.
So thank you for that. Be interested to know why there's an increase in that. Wonder if there's a corresponding reduction in the amount of coffee that's consumed. So see that. Any other questions? Okay, I don't see any, so thank you very much, and congratulations on hosting your first Student Senate meeting. So with that, we are at item C2 on our agenda, which is a trustee tribute this afternoon. So. So joining me up here this evening is Dennis Iriowen. And Dennis is a grade student at Bear Creek Secondary School. He is a conscientious student who enjoys school and his classes. Dennis began running in elementary school and was quickly noticed as a student athlete with talent. He joined the South Simcoe Dufferin Track Club and in grade 9 began training on the Bear Creek track team. Dennis won every 100-meter and 200-meter race in his grade 9 year, with victories at South Zones, GBSSA, Central OFSA, and finally OFSA. At OFSA, Dennis broke the record in each of the 100-meter and 200-meter races on his way to 2 gold medals. Dennis ran a 21:67 second and 20-meter race and a 10:77 second 100-meter race. So on behalf of the entire Simcoe County District School Board, it is my pleasure to present Dennis with the trustee tribute tonight for his exceptional representation of our board at OFSA. So Dennis, congratulations on your accomplishments, and we're very, very proud of you. So maybe we can all join in. Congratulations. Keep up the good work. Well done. And we're just going to take a second to get a couple photos, and then we'll resume. So good evening, everyone. We are back to our agenda. It is always such a treat when we get to celebrate our students and their accomplishments, and always a pleasure to recognize them like that. So we are item C3, delegations. We have no delegations this evening. So that takes us to D, reports for action. Report from closed session of the Board and Committee of the Whole, and there is no report coming forward this evening. That takes us to D2, matters arising from the previous meeting, and we have none. Takes us notice of time-sensitive motions from statutory committees, and we have none this evening. And so we are at D4A, which is the report of the Business and Facilities Standing Committee meeting from September 4th, 2024. We do have two recommendations coming forward from that meeting. The first recommendation is that the board approve revisions Policy 2345, Community Planning and Partnerships, as set out in Appendix B of Report Number BFD1, revisions to Policy 2345, Community Planning and Partnerships, dated September 4th, 2024. Is there a mover for that recommendation? Trustee Wilson, I think. I see your hand. And Trustee Armstrong, so thank you. Any questions or comments on that recommendation? Okay, I don't see any, so I'll call the question. All those in favor? And is there anyone opposed? Okay, that carries. The second recommendation is that the board approve revisions to Policy 2350, disposition of surplus real property, as set out in Appendix B of Report Number BFD2, revisions to Policy 2350, disposition of surplus real property, dated September 4th, 2024. Is there a mover for that recommendation? Trustee Wilson, thank you. A seconder? Okay. Thank you. Trustee Grummett, any questions or comments? I know we discussed all of these when we were in committee, but at last chance for any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? And is there anyone opposed? And that carries. That takes us to D5, which is staff reports item for decision, and we have none this evening. That takes us to 6, committee minutes reports item for information. So we have 3 coming forward, and so you have the opportunity to speak to them or ask any questions with respect to those minutes. The first one is the report of the Program Standing Committee meeting held September 11th, 2024. Are there any questions or comments related to those minutes? Don't see any. The next one is a report of the Human Resources Standing Committee meeting held September 11th, 2024. Any questions or comments on those minutes? Don't see any. Takes us to D6C, which is a report of the Special Education Advisory Committee, June the 3rd, 2024. Is there anyone who would like to speak to those or has any questions? Don't see any. Okay. Staff reports, items for information, we have none. So this takes us into other matters. First being the report from liaison members. Is there any updates for the board table tonight? Okay. I just remind everybody I will be attending the OPSPA Board of Directors meeting Friday night and Saturday, and we'll send out an update summary after that. And feel free to ask any questions related to that meeting. It is the first one for this year. And item 2, questions and comments from trustees. Are there questions and comments from trustees this evening? Anyone on the line? No. Vice Chair Rafik, please.
Thank you very much, and through the chair, I have a question to bother Superintendent Young again. I was just wondering for another update on the cell phone restrictions. I've been talking to principals and teachers and students, and most of the feedback that I've been hearing is positive. Maybe the bit of feedback that I've heard is that maybe administrators are busy, that teachers are kind of just sending kids to the office instead of having to disrupt classrooms too often. But the overall feel that I get is that they do feel that cell phone usage is down in schools, and I'm just curious what you're hearing, what you're experiencing, and if there is a noticeable difference with the new restrictions.
Superintendent Young, please.
Through the chair to Vice Chair Rafik, yes, we've had lots of positives from our administrators, but also staff. The limitations and the regulations have been successful in elementary and secondary, which is fantastic. A lot of our elementary schools had site-based protocols, and it was very similar to what's in PPM 128. Our secondary schools were starting from, for the most part, ground zero, outside of just classroom expectations from the teachers. And it seems that the secondary schools have really taken this on. There's a lot of autonomy within using the code of conduct and progressive discipline. So I would say administrators who are busy, many of the schools have decided if they're going to take this on. So I think they're putting in the heavy lifting early. It's been one of those things where this opportunity under PPM 128 has been exceptional to teach our students about the responsible use of innovation now and in the future. So I think we're really taking this on head on. At first, we weren't sure how it was going to go, but we did lean in on the code of conduct and progressive discipline, and I think it's been a success to this point.
Thank you for that. Is there any other questions? Trustee Strong, please.
Thank you, Chair Lloyd. Sorry, my microphone sounds a little bit weird. Thank you for the email that was sent to us about the school reorganization information. And I think it was yesterday was the official turnaround day at schools. And I could just maybe use this outcome. Okay, thank you. Borrow Trustee Talbot's microphone for a minute. So I think it was yesterday, was maybe the day before, was the official turnaround day at schools. And we did get an email providing us with some information. And I'm looking to see if we can get more information on this. Like, parents have a lot of questions about this. Students have a lot of questions about this. I think that for those of us who have children in elementary school, we see the impact and effect of these turnaround days where, like, kids are crying, people don't want to go to school, parents are having a lot of things to deal with anxiety with their children. Some children are fine and they just go with the flow, but it's a lot of upset for our students and our staff, and it seems that it takes a long time to sort through this, like to take 3 weeks to kind of figure out where kids will be placed and which classrooms they would be in, and moving like full classes in schools or eliminating classes, adding classes, that type of thing. So if we could get additional information on why that happens and why it happens at this particular time, just to better understand how this works, to help articulate that to parents and students, it would be really helpful.
Thank you. Is there someone who would like to? Associate Director Stevens, I know we've been doing it for a long, long time. It's not a new process, right? So, Associate Director Stevens, can you answer that one?
Thank you, and through you, Chair Lloyd, to Trustee Strawn. So we actually here in Simcoe County do our turnaround day very early comparatively to boards in the province. So there are many that do it after Thanksgiving. So we do it very early. It is a part of our collective agreement, so we have to meet our collective agreement requirements, which is why it does happen earlier in our board. We would like to have it later because what we are finding, we have to do it based on an enrollment snapshot. So we have to be compliant, we call it ONSIS compliant, with classroom numbers throughout the board. So our CAP have to be compliant with the ministry requirements, and so therefore there is shifting that does have to take place, and it is all based on enrollment on one particular day. And then kids come and they, we have to do some shifting. That's what's happening. But I will say elementary staffing is complete. We have completed it. All of our contract teachers did retain their positions, so this was positive. We had 5 LTO teachers that were displaced from their locations, but they have retained employment in other LTOs. So we were relatively happy with the ability to make sure that our staff continued. We didn't lose sections, so to speak, in elementary. So turnaround day is always a challenge. We try very hard to communicate to our families from the very beginning that this is not their class placement. This is their class placement until the turnaround day. And that is the best that we can do to try to have people understand that there could and probably will be shifts, especially in a board such as ours that has such growth and certain areas and things like that do happen. And but I'm happy to get you some more information if you'd like to see and a more fulsome explanation.
Trustee Strong?
Thank you, and through you to Associate Director Stevens, I do appreciate that response, and I would be interested in getting some more information. It sounds like there's a lot of moving parts involved, from the ministry to the collective agreement to like just where children end up living and enrolling in school. So many of those things would certainly be out of our immediate control, but understanding it in a more fulsome way, I think, would be helpful for me. So thank you for that offer.
Thank you for that. Any other questions? I have a piggyback question to that, and that is related to where we are with enrollment. And I know there's been a lot of flux, and people, like just from my own schools, I've heard it that, when we do our classrooms for September, it's based on projections and anticipated students that show up, and then we have some that don't, and some that enroll, some that don't enroll before school, they come in a couple of weeks late. So would it be possible just to get a sort of an update on where we are with our enrollment at this point in time and trends that we've been seeing for this year? Ben Nisman, please.
Thank you, and through the chair to the table. So enrollment, year over year, we are up. We have had an increase in students. However, compared to the projections that we had back in the spring as to where we were going to be, we are below that level. We had projected board-wide that we'd be, for this school year, that we would be at around 57,600 students. On the September 11th count date, we were at 56,762, so we were about 900 below what those projections were. Now, please bear in mind that we're doing these projections back in the spring. We are doing them based on information and trends with regards to a count dates on October 31st and March 31st during the school year, so it's an average over the school year that we're projecting. And there's many different factors that come into play: house closings, people moving in, people moving out, people moving within Simcoe County. And so, as Associate Director Stevens indicated, we do have that this year. That September 11th was the date that we did that snapshot. We were under 900 within the week. That number had dropped to, we were 800 under projections. So we slowly saw more students arrive at school. We only count students when they actually attend school. It's not just a matter of they're registered and haven't shown up yet. We actually need to have the students show up and attend a day of school in order for them to be considered a Simcoe County District School Board student for our count purposes. We fully anticipate, based on the trend that we saw last year, that we will continue to have more students start to attend our schools, and by over the course of the school year, we will make up that difference with regards to getting to that projected level. But as of the September 11th count date, we were that 900 below overall.
Okay, thank you very much for that. So I have a follow-up. So based upon what you're saying then, we are having students who enroll after the start of school. So they're not enrolling the week before school, and they're not enrolling the first week of school. We're continuing to see students enroll and come to our schools sort of on a continuous basis.
So thank you, and through the chair, to the chair. So you've got two factors going on. So we'll have students that have registered in our schools, but haven't shown up yet, and they could be registered for a number of reasons. With your kindergarten students, the parents may register in both our board and the Catholic board, and because they haven't made their decision back in the spring, and then when it comes to fall, they make their decision. We can have parents that are anticipating the house is going to close in August and we're going to move in. It's now been delayed to December. Those students have been registered, but because they don't actually show up at the school on or before September 11th, they're not included in that count. As their school year continues, those students will show up in December when their house does close. Hence why I'm indicating we believe we are going to make it to that projection of the 57,600. It's just going to take more time to get there.
And thank you for that clarity. And so then further to that, this also affects what Trustee Strawn was asking about, then the reorganizations of classes, right? As this happens, we still have an obligation to the collective agreement cap sizes and provincial cap sizes and all of those requirements as this flux is happening throughout the year. Associate Director Stevens?
Yes, and thank you, and through you, Chair Lloyd, to the table. So that is correct. So we do, we always try to ensure that there is some spaces to not go over that that provincial count that we have to have for our. We have to meet our obligations under the ministry, and so we do have some flex that we know is going to happen. So we have been very. We've been very aware of that as a possibility, because we have seen that trend. But it is all connected to our need to reorganize when we have a date of September 11th. That was our count date. That's the number we have to go by.
Okay, Trustee Strong.
Sorry. Thank you. Through you, Chair Lloyd, just another quick follow-up question. Do we see more variance or differences depending on the school size? Like, would there be more or less reorganization if a school has 300 students versus a school with 600 students?
Director Stevens, please.
Thank you, and through the chair to Trustee Strawn. So it really does depend. So we did see some of our smaller schools see an increase in students because a subdivision opened up that had a higher enrollment rate than we projected. So there was one of our more rural, what I would consider a more rural school, that was up 45 students, and we all kind of looked at each other and thought, like, they haven't been up 45 students in 10 years, right? So, that was an example that happened. Some of our bigger schools in the south, such as some of our schools in Bradford, they didn't have meet their projections, and so they were down that kind of same amount of students. So although the student count is the same, the two different schools, there was reorg in both of those schools. So it really does depend on that, but it also is a county. We have to be compliant across the county. So it's not just in the school. We have to meet the counts across the county. We can't, in the board, we can't just say, okay, we're compliant at Chris Hadfield, but too bad, Tosserantio, you're not compliant. It has to be across the board. So we do have a reorganization that might happen in a school with very little change in enrollment, just because they might have had, for instance, a 3-4. That is a different count than a 4-5, right? Because of the division. So it's very complicated, but we have a great team that tries to do it, and we are very aware that we don't want to just say, okay, everybody up and shuffle around, right? So our principals work with our HR staff to lessen the impact as much as possible. We do work very hard in these last 2 weeks to try to, there'll be a discussion back and forth. I really don't want to make this change. Can we continue to have this? And there's back and forth that happens. Sometimes there's a need for change that the principal is requesting as well. So there is a lot of conversation and decisions that go into why a school is reorged, but we do have to meet that compliance. That's the number one. We have no choice, so to speak, in order to meet the ministry requirements.
Okay, thank you very much for that. The context is very helpful, and I assume, as we're growing, this is sort of a thing that's going to happen continuously that probably we haven't experienced so much in the past, right? As we get larger, other boards have probably experienced this to this degree before us. But thank you for that. Are there any other questions or comments from trustees? I don't see any. I just would like to thank Trustee Foley. Vice Chair Rafiq and I met Trustee Foley and Director Dance and Associate Dr. Stevens and Superintendent Schmay. We met up at Wasaga Beach Public School today. We met with the Wasaga Beach Council and toured the wonderful new school that has just opened up there and the lovely playground they have. So thank you, Trustee Foley, for organizing that. And it was a lovely opportunity. There's a partnership on the gym at that school. It's not quite finished. The floor has to go in, but it was a great opportunity to see the school and to see the enthusiasm of the new building and the students that were in it. So that was a great way to start my day this morning. So thank you for everyone who participated and facilitated that. And I think Council was very pleased to see the inside of the school and to see what was transpiring there. So thank you very much for that. And this will be a quick night, folks, because we are at item E, which is notices motion for next meeting. Are there any notices motion for next meeting? Okay, I don't see any. Is there anyone that would like to declare any professional development seminar attendance? Yes, please go ahead, Trustee Simmons.
Thank you, and through you, Chair, to the table. Student trustees Ladshaw and I will be attending Ontario's Ministry of Education orientation for new student trustees on October 2nd from 2 p.m.
Okay, thank you for sharing that with us and notifying us. Anything else? Don't see any. Okay, so that takes us to item E5, which is reports and update from staff. And Director Dance, did you want to go first?
Through you, Chair, I'll ask Superintendent Young to do a brief update.
Okay, thank you. Superintendent Young.
Through the chair and to the table, I have an update for the table related to the Board of Trustees motion that was that the SCDSB staff provide the board with an annual report on violence in our schools. As the reporting due date for the ONSIS reporting on violent incidents to the ministry related to PPM 120 for 23-24 school year is September 30th, a report will be available at the November 13th, 2024 program meeting. This timeline will ensure that the most current data is available for review.
Okay, thank you very much for that update. And any questions related to that? I don't see any. And Director Dance, please.
Thank you, and through you, Chair Lloyd. Monday, September 30th is the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. Schools have been encouraged to engage in learning about the significance of this date and follow up on the commitments to the TRC calls to action. Schools will be acknowledging Orange Shirt Day on September 30th, 2024. Wearing orange shirts, and all facilities in the SCDSB will recognize the significance of this day by flying our national flag at half-mast. Schools are also being encouraged to display the Every Child Matters flag prominently in their school buildings that day. This year, Rowan's Law Day falls today, September 25th. This day is promoted to ensure concussion safety training and knowledge is ongoing. Rowan's Law is named after Rowan Stringer, a 17-year-old athlete who tragically died in the spring of 2013 from a condition known as second impact syndrome. That's swelling of the brain caused by a subsequent injury that occurred from a previous injury that had already healed. Rowan's Law and Rowan's Law Day were established to honor Rowan's memory and bring awareness to concussions and concussion safety throughout the province. Over the course of the last several weeks and even extending back into the summer, the SCDSB Education Centre has been busy with the supports provided to mental health and well-being leaders. We have student ambassadors, and they'll be featured in the video to follow. Students and staff from across the SCDSB have come together to learn more about mental health, the supports we can provide and the efforts we have undertaken to prioritize student and staff well-being. And I challenge the trustees to keep an eye on the video to see if they recognize any of the participants in the mental health activities that are profiled later. The Simcoe County Athletic Association is in full swing, and tomorrow the first Simcoe County Football Festival will take place on the turf field at Maple Ridge Secondary School. The festival will feature all 8 senior football teams competing this year in the SCAA. The 4 games of the festival will start at 9 a.m. and, looking out the window, they'll end at 8 p.m., just as the lights will need to go on, I'm sure. Fans and supporters are asked to bring non-perishable food items and or cash donations that will go to our partners at the Barrie Food Bank. Events such as this festival highlight the spirit of giving and community in our schools while celebrating sports as well. Finally, I want to report that the SCDSB has been fully immersed in Terry Fox activities over the past several weeks, with runs, walks, and other events taking place throughout the board. Terry Fox runs have been supported by our community since their inception, and the tradition continues with funds being raised for cancer research, and as always, great enthusiasm exists for this cause. We remain committed to creating safe and inclusive working and learning environments where all staff and students feel a sense of belonging, and this commitment aligns with our strategic plan and our priorities. Our Celebrates video this month features our first day visit from Minister Dunlop, the Mental Health Ambassadors Program, and the SCDSB's province-leading commitment to OFIA's Healthy Schools certification. With that, I'll ask that we start our Celebrates video.
Join us as we celebrate stories from the system in relation to the SCDSB strategic priorities. This month, we share an exciting start to the 2024-25 school year. We introduce the Student Mental Health Ambassadors, and we demonstrate how schools continue to focus on healthy active living and achieving OFIA Healthy Schools certification.
It's the first day of school. Welcome, staff and students, to the new school year.
Here at Coldwater Moonstone, I am overjoyed to be able to work with such an exciting and committed group of educators who are passionate about their students and wanting their students to be the best they can be. We are looking forward to creating a huge sense of community and a sense of belonging for all of our students here in the school board.
Today we're at Coldwater Public School with our newly appointed Minister of Education, MPP Jill Dunlop. This is very exciting for her because this is where it all began, and this is the school that she started at when she was a student.
I want to wish all of the students and parents, the teachers, administration, best of luck in this 2024-25 school year. I know it's going to be an exciting one. It's so great to be back here and see, the excitement and the energy here on the first day of school.
Our communities have many new and different experiences on the first day of school. First day of kindergarten, first day as school principal, first day as Minister of Education, and the last first day as Director of Education. Here's to a memorable 2024-25 school year. Good luck, SCDSB community.
We're very excited to be hosting the first of 7 student well-being symposiums. There's a focus on student voice, student agency, to create that sense of belonging through identity-affirming practices in the school communities.
Some of the exciting activities that students will be participating in this week are mental health literacy lessons from School Mental Health Ontario, a design thinking workshop, as well as we have the Simcoe Muskoka District Health Unit leading some learning about substance use and vaping. The communication team developed a content creation presentation and a hands-on workshop. They took the group outside to get the students involved. We also have the pleasure of enjoying our outdoor space this week, and the students will be joining the outdoor ed team on the low ropes course.
I wanted to become a mental health ambassador because I did speak to grade 9s. I really wanted to help kids. Maybe I can make a difference in their lives.
I decided to become a mental health and well-being ambassador because it's something that's very important to me. It's important for schools to have these ambassadors because every single school deals and sees mental health differently. And I'm excited to see where this journey takes us.
The secondary student ambassadors will take a leadership role when they return to their schools, sharing some of the knowledge that they have gained this week with us here to help amplify some of the mental health and well-being supports that are already in our schools.
During the 2023-24 school year, 103 SCDSB schools achieved OFIA Healthy Schools certification. Let's check in and see how SCDSB schools are working towards their Healthy School certification this school year.
I'm Katie Prentice, and I'm a Vice Principal here at Twin Lakes Secondary School. The OFIA Healthy School certification is a program designed to enhance the health and well-being of students, staff, and the broader school community. This year, we are going to continue with our Not an Experiment campaign, which is a series of posters around the school that students can learn what the hazards are when they vape. It's really great to see our students looking at the posters and starting to think about why they shouldn't vape so that they can live that healthy lifestyle.
One way I'm healthy at my school is by maintaining and creating positive relationships.
Prioritizing my own mental health.
Drinking lots of water.
Exercising. Eating healthy.
Hi, I'm Rachel Fogarty. I'm the BP here at Maple Grove. Maple Grove has achieved Gold OFIA status the last 5 years in a row. This is quite an accomplishment and speaks to the school community's commitment to the well-being of the students here at Maple Grove. Some of the ways we incorporate a healthy, active living is through our various sports teams and activities we have for students. Luna is one of our sweet charity dogs. She makes our school a healthier place by providing support to students and staff well-being, resulting in positive outcomes for everyone's mental health.
I like that Luna's in my classroom because she makes me feel calm and happy.
These programs create the foundation for students to develop sustainable, lifelong, healthy habits. Our kindergarten students would like to share some healthy, active living tips.
Eat your vegetables and a healthy lunch. Playing outside. Walking to school. Having a healthy breakfast. Namaste.
Children and youth value and enjoy the benefits of healthy, active living. The SCDSB supports and prioritizes the health and well-being of all students and staff.
For the latest videos and positive news, visit the Celebrates page on the SCDSB website.
So thank you for that. That was a lovely video to see. So that takes us to items E6, which is correspondence. Attached to the package are two letters that were sent out this month. One is to our municipal partners looking for support related to our capital priority submissions, and we had a very positive response to that and received letters, so that's great. And then the second letter that was sent out was in relation to creating safe zones around our schools. We had talked about that previously, sending out a letter to work with our municipal partners on trying to address some of the safety concerns around school areas and school zones. So both of those letters were sent out during the month of September and are attached to your package. The agenda for October is attached. There's a number of meetings taking place in the month of October. And unless there's any further questions, we have completed our agenda, so I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Thank you, Trustee Bites. And is there a seconder for that? Thank you, Trustee Powell. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? And we are adjourned. Safe travels back home. And thank you very much to our student trustees for their first presentation tonight.